Hey y'all, just wanted to share something with you. I'm gonna take my time with this one. One of my favorite gospel artists of all time is Fred Hammond. And there's this song that he wrote a long time ago. And the second verse of the song says, "Addicted to my selfishness and greed, thinking my foolishness would meet my need. I pulled up flowers trying to make room for weeds, but it doesn't uproot your love. I'm so crazy. You just correct and try to slow me down. Rain on me softly when my leaves are brown. Resuscitate me when I hit the ground. So tenacious with your love. Tell me, how do you love that way? I need you to teach me to love that way. And why do you love me? Whatever you do, don't stop." I was listening to that verse a couple of days ago, and it just hit me so differently. And what Spirit said to me in listening to it was, self-love is not selfish. And I know we've heard this many times before, but it said what actually is selfish is giving of yourself to exhaustion. Giving of yourself something that is actually supposed to remain within you. That is selfish. So again, addicted to my selfishness and greed, thinking my foolishness would meet my need. And many of us have been raised believing that giving and giving and giving and giving and giving is the best way for us to serve and to love others. But when we give of ourselves in a space, in a time that's supposed to be designated for us, that's supposed to be designated for us to care for ourselves, to rest, to replenish, to restore ourselves, then that actually becomes foolishness in pouring out into other people during that time, that space that's designated for us. So addicted to my selfishness and greed, thinking my foolishness would meet my need. One of the other things is this idea. How many of you have ever thought, I've thought this many times, like someone has called upon me for help, and if I don't help them, who will? If I don't extend myself, who will? If I don't pour out of my cup, even if I feel like my cup is empty, if I don't pour out of my cup at this moment, I'm the only one that can help them at this time or in this season, or with whatever it is that they need help with. When the truth of the matter is, God, in all of his infinity, if that's a word, infiniteness, always has abundance, ready to pour in to anyone who needs. And so we don't have to be the vessel that pours out when others are in need. There is abundance. The universe, God, the creator, has abundance in other places. He never runs out of abundance that can pour in where that person has needs. And so there's times where we have to step back and say, you know what, this time I had designated for myself. These resources I designated for myself. Whatever this energy is, I designated for myself because I have need of it. And we have to be willing to not be selfish in that moment and thinking we're the only ones that can pour out into this person or into this thing, and saying, you know what, I'm going to reserve what I needed for myself. And I've done this. And pray. Ask God, ask the Creator to supply whatever it is that this person in need has need of out of the abundance of God, the Creator itself. He can use someone else. He can use something else to bless them. You don't have to be the one. And unless the Spirit of God is saying to you at that moment that you are the one, and you know, again, that this time, resource, energy should be reserved for you, then don't be selfish in thinking that you're the only one that can help. Don't be selfish taking your empty cup over there to someone else's empty cup, tipping it upside down and banging on it, thinking that there's going to be some kind of drop that comes out for them that's going to meet the abundance or the lack that they need, and it's going to be abundant enough to meet the lack that they need, that they have need of, when you don't. And it's okay. You should reserve that for yourself. If it's reserved for you, it needs to be reserved for you, then reserve it for you. And that's anything. Time, money, energy, space. Addicted to my selfishness and greed, thinking my foolishness would meet my need, I pulled up flowers trying to make room for weeds. Do you know what a weed is? I learned this in farming over the last few years. A weed is any plant that grows in a space that you've designated for something else. That's what a weed is. It doesn't have to be the things that we've been taught are weeds. You can have a rose or a lily or a cucumber plant pop up in a space that you had designated for something else. And that plant is considered a weed. Dandelions, the things that grow up that people are vigorously trying to get rid of all the time, are so useful for our health and for our well-being. But because it grows oftentimes in places that people don't want it, it's considered a weed. So it's not about the usefulness. It's not about the value of the thing itself. A weed is a weed because it grows in a place that was supposed to be designated for something else. So when someone comes into your life, when something comes into your life, and it starts to impede upon a space, a time, an energy, a resource that was designated for you, that was designated for your family, that was designated for your business, that was designated for your own restfulness, that thing becomes a weed. And so we can't go around pulling up flowers, pulling up the things that are supposed to help us in order for weeds to grow, for someone else's need to impede, to step beyond the boundaries in our lives and grow in spaces where they never were intended to grow. Pulled up flowers trying to make room for weeds, but it doesn't uproot your love. I'm so crazy. You just correct and try to slow me down. Rain on me softly when my leaves are brown. Resuscitate me when I hit the ground. Isn't that the Spirit of God? Isn't that what He's always doing? Isn't that what the Creator always does when we overextend, when we overdo, when we overspend energy, again, resource, time, care, because it was designated for us, for our family, for our household, for our own selves. But we decide to keep pouring and keep pouring and keep pouring and keep giving and keep giving and keep extending. Eventually, your leaves are going to turn brown. You're going to need some heavy water and rain. We're going to hit the ground tired, exhausted. We're going to need the love of God to resuscitate us. How many of us have had to go into a place of seclusion sometimes because we've extended ourselves so much that it's like, now I'm in a space where I'm in a state of emergency. I have to slow down and give myself some time and some space and some self-love to restore things because I've given to the point of exhaustion. We got to stop doing that. How do you love that way? I need you to teach me to love that way. Why do you love me? But whatever you do, don't stop. God's love, the love of the Creator for us is perfect. And we have to learn how to perfectly love ourselves in order to perfectly love others. Again, reserving the time, the space, the energy, the resources, rest, restoration, relaxation, self-love, self-care, putting up our boundaries and being firm about them. Because what is for us is for us. And another reason why giving to exhaustion is selfish is because when we give, again, we're giving something that we don't really have. When we give, there's a scripture that says we should give not of necessity, but give joyfully. We can't give joyfully, and we can't give abundantly unless we are in a place of rest and restoration and replenishment for ourselves. Unless we have reserved some of our resources and energy to care for, to love on, to take care of ourselves. And when we express that love to ourselves, then we can more effectively, efficiently, and abundantly pour into others. So when we give when we shouldn't be giving, we're being selfish. Because then when we are intended to give, we can't give fully. We can't give as we're supposed to. I hate the word supposed. We can't give as we're able and really have the capacity to, because we've exhausted resources in areas that we weren't supposed to. So I just wanted to share that verse with you. It's been resounding in my spirit since I heard that verse. I've listened to that song for years, and I never quite heard it the way I heard it the few days ago that I heard it again. So don't be addicted to your own selfishness and greed, thinking you're the only person in the world or at a time, in a space, in a moment that can help someone. That you have to give out of your own resource that's reserved for you, your family, your household, your business. Don't feel like you have to extend that to others because maybe they're in a moment of catastrophe. Trust God, trust the Creator, that if you have reserved something for yourself and you're unable to give, pray for the abundance of God to be sent to them through another vessel, through another place. There's so many times people have called me in a place of catastrophe, and if I had to say, oh, I'm sorry, and I pray for them and say, Lord God, help them. And then I check in with them later after I have what I need. After I've been restored, I've been re-energized, to say, you know what, what happened in that situation? And there's never been once that I can recall that I've checked in with them and they said, you know what, everything just fell to shambles. The usual response is, oh, someone else actually was able to help me, so thanks for checking in. Or, you know what, it worked out, don't worry about it. The abundance of the Creator is always available, and it doesn't always have to flow through you. So we have to remember that some of that abundance of the Creator within us, God within us, wisdom within us, love within us, is to be reserved for ourselves. And we have to set up boundaries to not allow ourselves to be worked up and anxious about the needs of others, that we're pouring into others when we should be pouring into ourselves. We can't pull up flowers, making room for weeds, things that were not supposed to grow in an area designated and intended for something else. And we have to continue to seek the Creator, seek God, to help us to learn how to love ourselves first and foremost, so that we can, in that same perfection, pour out an abundance of love into others in the time and the season that we are intended to. That's all I wanted to share with you today. I love y'all. I hope this helped somebody because I am still eating off of it. It is good. It is really resounding in my spirit. So be okay with saying no. Get comfortable with that little feeling of discomfort that comes sometimes when you want to give and you want to help, but you know that you need yourself. You first. It's not selfish. Love you, care for you, abundantly and lavishly love on you before you go pouring out into other people. So that when it's time for you to pour out, you will be full of capacity and capability to do so. And then you can give, not out of necessity, but joyfully. Love y'all. Have a blessed rest of the week. Well, it's Sunday, so enjoy the rest of the weekend and then have a blessed week ahead. All right, bye-bye.